Help me hit 7,000 subscribers. Support the video with a like and share your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone. Thank you. I never thought couples therapy would feel like a courtroom. Sitting across from Dr. Harper, the tension between Evelyn and me was almost tangible. It wasn't just the months of bickering or the arguments about money. It was something deeper, something that had been quietly building for years. She had this way of staring through me, like she was seeing the person I might have been, rather than the man I am now. I've been holding this in for a while, she said, her voice low but steady. Marcus, 20 years ago, I should have chosen my ex to marry. The words hit me like a freight train. My heart froze, my chest tightened, and for a second, I couldn't breathe. I'd thought we'd navigated every rough patch, every financial strain, every long night of silence together. Yet here we were, sitting in a sterile office, and Evelyn dropped a truth I'd never imagined. I wanted to respond with sarcasm, maybe even anger, but instead, I felt a strange calm, a clarity that comes when your world subtly shifts, not violently, but irreversibly. You mean to tell me, after all these years, you regret choosing me? I asked, my voice quieter than I expected. She looked down at her hands. I don't regret you, Marcus. I just sometimes wonder about what could have been. Sometimes, I feel like I settled. Settle. That word cut deeper than any insult. It wasn't about love or even respect. It was about the life we built together being silently questioned. I remembered our early days, the laughter, the road trips, the late-night conversations that made everything feel like a story we were writing together. I remembered thinking Evelyn was the one person who truly saw me, the one person I wanted to grow old with. And now, in that moment, all of it felt fragile, almost irrelevant. I took a slow breath. Evelyn, I said, choosing my words carefully. If we're here to fix things, I need to know where this thought comes from. Is it just nostalgia? Or something more? She hesitated, her lips pressed tightly. Then she confessed, it's not just nostalgia. Sometimes, I feel like I miss something. I see my ex occasionally on social media. He's happy. He's living the life I imagined we could have had. And I can't stop thinking. Her voice trailed off, and I felt the weight of her honesty, heavy in the quiet room. At that moment, I realized I had a choice. To react with frustration or to react with understanding. It wasn't about winning an argument or proving a point. It was about confronting the reality of our marriage and deciding whether we were willing to fight for it, truly fight, or let it unravel quietly. I finally said, I won't lie, I'm hurt, but we've come here to work, not to blame. Let's try to be honest without tearing each other down. Dr. Harper nodded, guiding us through exercises that forced us to articulate feelings we'd buried for decades. I was surprised by how much vulnerability Evelyn was showing, how her eyes glistened with unspoken fear and longing. And yet, there was a tension, a hesitation, that told me the battle wasn't over. Then, in a quieter moment, I turned slightly toward her and said, if you're finding this story relatable, like and share this video so it can reach others who might be going through the same struggle. She flinched at my words, a small smile tugging at her lips, but the tension didn't break. We went through the exercises, talking through moments where we'd unintentionally hurt each other. I admitted my own mistakes, the times I prioritized work over us, the nights I didn't listen as I should have, the arguments I let simmer instead of resolving them. Evelyn did the same, revealing regrets I had only glimpsed before. At one point, I asked her to recall the happiest memory from our early days. She hesitated, then smiled faintly, eyes distant. That weekend in Lake Windermere, she whispered. The rain kept us inside the cabin, and we just talked for hours. I felt like nothing could touch us. I nodded, letting her words settle between us. The contrast between that moment and now, the emotional distance that had grown between us, was palpable. And yet, there was still a thread, however thin, connecting the two of us. As we progressed, I encouraged her. Comment below what part of the story resonates with you the most, or if you've faced something similar in your own relationship. I'd love to hear your thoughts. By the end of the session, I realized something important. It wasn't just about who we had chosen to marry 20 years ago. It was about who we were willing to become now, together. And if we could face the honesty of the past without letting it destroy us, perhaps there was hope. But just as clarity started to feel comforting, Evelyn paused, her voice soft but serious. "Marcus, there's one more thing I need to tell you." I leaned in slightly, bracing myself for the next confession. Her eyes held a weight I hadn't seen before, a mixture of fear, guilt, and something that almost felt like hope. I sometimes wonder if I was truly ready to commit back then," she whispered. "Not to you, Marcus, but to myself. I think I married the right person at the wrong time." The room seemed to shrink around us. Her words, layered with vulnerability, made the past 20 years feel both distant and immediate. I remembered the fights, the laughter, the compromises, the sacrifices, and now all of it was reframed, not as failure, but as a chapter in an unfinished story. "I can't undo the past," I said carefully, my voice steady. "But we're here now, and what we do next matters more than what we chose 20 years ago." She nodded, biting her lip. A tear escaped, and I reached out instinctively, but hesitated. The line between intimacy and caution had been drawn so many times in our marriage that even a simple gesture felt heavy with meaning. Dr. Harper suggested a reflective exercise. Each of us would speak for 5 uninterrupted minutes, expressing feelings without judgment or interruption. When it was Evelyn's turn, she closed her eyes and spoke slowly. "I love you, Marcus. I always have. But sometimes love isn't enough. I've been scared. Scared that we've drifted too far. Scared that my choices have hurt you more than I can say." I felt my own chest tighten. It was one thing to hear regrets casually mentioned. It was another to witness them spoken aloud with honesty and trembling sincerity. I realized in that moment that the pain wasn't hers alone. It had been ours, shared, yet unspoken. When my turn came, I spoke from the depth I rarely accessed, acknowledging the hurt, the distance, and the small betrayals we had unintentionally inflicted on each other. "I've been angry at you, Evelyn. I've been resentful, but I've also been stubborn, and perhaps I withheld understanding when you needed it most. I see now that we've both made mistakes." For the first time in months, I noticed a softening in her gaze. It wasn't forgiveness yet, but it was recognition. The acknowledgement that our love, though flawed, still existed beneath the layers of hurt. I paused and said, "If this story touches you, consider leaving a comment sharing your experience. Sometimes talking about it helps more than keeping it inside." The rest of the session involved working through practical matters, boundaries, communication habits, and expectations. We didn't solve everything, but we created space. Space to listen, space to reflect, space to rebuild. After the session, Evelyn and I sat in silence for a while, our hands almost touching on the armrest. It felt tentative, like the first fragile leaves of spring pushing through winter frost. Finally, I broke the silence. "I don't know what the future holds, Evelyn, but I do know this. If we want to be together, we have to face the truth, even when it hurts." She nodded, a faint smile tugging at her lips. The honesty was liberating, yet intimidating. There was no instant fix, no miraculous reconciliation. There was only the choice to try or the choice to drift further apart. Later that evening, reflecting on the day, I realized how vital these moments of raw truth were. We had touched a nerve, yes, but we had also touched the part of ourselves that still cared, that still hoped, that still loved. I turned to the camera, metaphorically speaking, and said, "Tell me what you think. Could honesty like this save a relationship? Or is it sometimes too late? Comment below and let's discuss." Days passed. Our conversations became slightly easier, less guarded. The tension still lingered, but it had shifted from accusation to curiosity. Curiosity about whether the life we had built could coexist with the life we imagined together. At one point, Evelyn reached over and lightly touched my hand. It wasn't a grand gesture, but it was enough to signal a crack in the wall we'd built around our hearts. I squeezed her hand gently, allowing myself to hope. I realized that the secret to surviving 20 years of marriage wasn't perfection. It wasn't avoiding mistakes or regrets. It was embracing the truth, facing discomfort, and being willing to act with intention. Love, I finally understood, wasn't just a feeling. It was a series of choices, repeated day after day, even when the past whispered doubts in our ears. Before signing off on the day's reflections, I added, if you've learned something from this story, like, comment, and subscribe for more real-life stories of relationships, growth, and navigating the complexities of love. Every story here is meant to inspire reflection and understanding. Evelyn looked at me then, eyes shimmering with quiet acknowledgement. We didn't have all the answers. Maybe we never would. But for the first time in years, I felt we were in the same room, on the same team, looking forward rather than back. And as I drove home that evening, I thought about how strange it was that a single statement, "I should have chosen my ex," could trigger pain, clarity, and ultimately, the possibility of a new beginning. Life was messy, love was complicated, but honesty had a power all its own.